Renault Northern European Cup. Yesterday, victory went to Sasha Fenestraz. In fact, a fantastic race for Joseph Kaufmann Racing. They took 3 of the top 4 positions. It took a disqualification of Charles Milesi to boost them to that place, but they've dropped into the championship and looking very good indeed. But again, a cool morning at the Nürburgring, only just under 10 degrees track temperature, so they're going to be slipping around a little bit when they get out there. But yesterday the weather kept on changing. It was largely blue sky. Today not predicted to be as good, but if the rain can stay away, this fantastic circuit will offer plenty of opportunity. And there's the famous tower of the castle in nearby Nürburg village, just to the right hand, to the eastern end of the circuit, looking out over the mighty Nordschleife, the original 14.1 mile circuit. But yesterday we enjoyed some great racing, but Sasha Fenestraz started from pole and was imperious in the race, eventually winning by 6.5 seconds from his teammate Yifei Ye, a Chinese racer, and Dan Ticktum started on the front row, as he is again today, and he was quite a challenger. But that was the top 3, Fenestraz, Ye and Ticktum. Dry conditions, and looking forward to 25 minutes packed with action. Can anyone live with the pace of Sasha Fenestraz, though? He's been doing a great job in the main European Championship for Formula Renault, stepped up to Formula 3 at the last round of the European Championship and made quite a splash in there. So going to prove that yet again Formula Renault is providing some really fantastic up-and-coming racers. So again, dry conditions. Yesterday morning was a bit damp in places because there'd been a much colder night and there was hanging mist in the morning. Not so much mist this morning. That cleared at about 6:30. But for all these drivers, it's a late starting championship. They're only at the 3rd of the double header rounds, which is Monza, Assen, this one at the Nürburgring. Then they've got a triple header at Spa-Francorchamps to start next weekend and go to Hockenheim in Germany for the final round. Another triple header at the start of October, but it's all very promising. Gabriel Aubry still leads on points because he's been there from the start of the championship, whereas Sasha Fenestraz was making his championship debut yesterday as Joseph Kaufmann Racing came to join the fun, and Arden International also came with Dan Ticktum and James Pull. So the season regulars in the Northern European Championship have an advantage in the points race, but an advantage out on the circuit appears to be with the pace of the newcomers, the incoming teams, with Joseph Kaufmann Racing pole position with Sasha Fenestraz, Dan Ticktum second on the grid. That's the pit wall side for Arden Motorsport. Then Tech 1 Racing's Gabriel Aubry only finished 5th yesterday, 6th on the track, promoted by Charles Milesi's disqualification for contact. He was 4th, so everyone else moved up behind. Plenty of character at the Nürburgring, packed agenda of racing yesterday and qualifying as well, but today it's racing all the way. And there is Sasha Fenestraz on that pole position that he made such good use of yesterday. Really clean start from the French racer.
This is nothing any different. There's nothing on the track to worry about at all.
And just hearing advice from the team pointing out there's nothing out on the track to worry about at all, meaning they've just convinced the track conditions are good. There's no moisture hanging in the curbs. Dan Ticktum, sponsored by, he's in the Red Bull scholarship scheme, so that could give him wings, could promote him up the order in the level above as he wants to step up to Formula 3, well, along with most of the grid there. Gabriel Aubry, another French racer, he took the double at the opening round down at Monza in June, 2 poles to victories. And he's looking for another good result here to keep boosting his points tally. He's 3rd on the grid. 4th on the grid, Jean-Baptiste Simonard for JD Motorsport. Bit of an up and down season, but it was looking fairly good yesterday. And he ended up 6th overall. So he's starting a little bit ahead of that today. 4th on the grid. Good mix of teams here. And going back to number 6, that's Thomas Neubauer, yet another French racer, also with Tech 1 Racing. He'll be told much the same about the conditions. He can report back about what he found out around the circuit on that exploratory lap out of the pits. Still cold here though. As we saw, track temperatures are about 10 degrees. So I'll have to think about that, how hard they want to push on the opening lap. There's Charles Milesi, the driver who got pinged for contact yesterday, lost his 4th place and was disqualified. But he showed decent pace, so I'm sure he can do it all over again, but hopefully without the contact. Joseph Kaufmann Racing, the next car down the grid, is back in 7th. Yifei Ye, who fought with Dan Ticktum, got past him and scored an excellent 2nd place finish yesterday. So he'll be looking to progress a little bit and certainly look very unflustered in the race. Michael Benyaya out on the grid, starting 6th for R-Ace GP. And he's been racing also in the main European Championship. Number 2, his teammate, Theo Coiser. A lot of French drivers in this series, as you can see. And a good spread of teams. That's the one from R-Ace GP. Then we go across to Tech 1 that run. We've already seen Aubrey and Neubauer at the front of the grid. Number 5 is Thomas Maxwell, an Aussie racer. And his best result so far is 5th in one of the opening rounds. But yesterday he finished right down the back of the field in 14th. So he's got to try and improve his form this morning. 42, fellow Australian, racing for Joseph Kaufman Racing, is Lewis Leeds. And Lewis was promoted yesterday up to 4th place at the end, having come home 5th. Well, the winning fist bump. Sun Yu Yang, second Chinese driver in the field, second driver from JD Motorsport, sharing with Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, who's starting 4th, but Sun Yu Yang slightly further back. He's collected a 4th place in one of the opening races at Monza, so he's got the speed, but the field is getting larger, it's harder to get the points. Gilles Magnus came here leading the championship for R-Ace GP, but the incomers from Joseph Kaufman Racing and Arden International have made life rather harder for him, so he's going to have to fight for position. Yesterday finished only 8th. James Poole, one of the other newcomers, penultimate position on the grid, racing for Arden, a team set up by Christian Horner, who obviously went on to bigger and better things with Red Bull Racing. And that'll bring us back to the last car on the grid, the black and green car. Bartolomei Mirecki put to the back of the grid for a qualifying infringement, but we should see him pick him up in his self-run team. He has finished as high as 3rd in one of the opening races of the season, but very much doing it on a budget from the back of the field, so any result he picks up is particularly notable. Yesterday morning we had bright blue skies and sunshine. Similar temperature to now, but it did rise with the track temperature gaining about 10 degrees through the course of the day. Air temperature not quite so much, but it's a coolish morning here in the Eiffel Forest, but conditions are dry and that's absolutely perfect for the drivers. But of course, how much heat they can get into their tyre, because the first corner, the first complex, turn 1 where it doubles back, 2, 3 and 4 are all tight turns, and we've seen year in, year out drivers overcooking it by just pressing too hard, finding not enough grip and running wide, particularly at turn 1. With only 15 cars in the field, hopefully there's space for them all, because it's a good, wide circuit. But the junior Formula Renault, if you will, the Formula Renault's Junior Championships, the Northern European Cup, is definitely a good chance for a lot of these drivers to get out there and gain more track experience. A lot of them also racing in the main European Formula Renault Championship, but best way to gain experience is to get out there and race. That's why we have these 2 extra teams coming on board this weekend and bringing another 5 cars with them. And one of them, of course, Sacha Fenestraz, starting on the right-hand side of your screen, the green nose and the very dark grey livery with Joseph Kaufman Racing entry. That's on pole. The pit wall side, you can see the familiar Red Bull Racing livery. And that's Dan Ticktum, British driver. And then Gabriel Aubrey and Jean-Baptiste Simonauer on row 2. So a lot of French drivers in this field, with Dan Ticktum the fly in their ointment. Running through the countdown now. The race will start at 10 o'clock. And here is the grid. Sacha Fenestraz on pole for the 2nd race in a row. Dan Ticktum was 3rd on the grid yesterday, 2nd today. Gabriel Aubrey, much better qualifying for him. Likewise, Jean-Baptiste Simonauer to fill row 2. Thomas Neubauer also moving up the grid. Charles Milesi, Yiffy Aye, front row starter yesterday, down in 7th. So look out for him. Michael Benyaya alongside him, then it's another French racer, Theo Coiser, and 2 Australians, Thomas Maxwell and Lewis Leeds. Sun Yu Yang, a 2nd Chinese driver in the field, Gilles Magnus, James Poole, and Bartolomei Mirecki, also known as Bartek Mirecki for short. The Polish driver put to the back of the grid, so he's got a point to prove. And talking of points, it's 30 points for a win, so a couple of wins and suddenly you can find yourself really very well placed in the championship. So the lights on the gantry are on, so the field will be released. Just waiting to reach 10 o'clock, which we have. So off goes the field on its final formation lap. Dan Ticktum looking very vigorous, putting some rubber down to maybe use to accelerate away when the race start proper happens at the end of this formation lap. But track temperature gradually coming up. It's always good that up and down the pit lane, of course, all the team bosses come out and have a look at the young drivers, and with so many single-seater drivers taking a very, very serious look at GT cars as their possible future, should all not go right in their single-seater career. Having the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup field here is sort of championship they'll be looking at very seriously indeed. A lot of young single-seater racers have proved real stars crossing over to GT racing in recent years. So 17 turns, around 5.148 kilometres. And it's largely downhill from the start-finish line, down to turn 1, through the stadium section, turns 1, 2, 3 and 4. That wonderful downhill stretch, 5, 6, there's turn 7, a left-hand kink, down to turn 8 at the lowest point on the circuit. The field needs to bunch up a little bit more. The first half dozen have run at a decent pace, but the driver who's starting 7th, which is Yiffy Aye, is a little way back from where maybe he ought to be. He needs to catch up so we don't wait too long on the grid. So having been at the bottom of the circuit, the cars then come up the slope through the wonderful Schumacher S, which is turns 9 and 10. They get to the crest at 11, the right-hander at 12, then the track drops again down where you can start to see get sight of the main circuit, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, as it disappears off into the forest towards Hatzenbach and beyond. But the driver's only focused on the contemporary circuit, the Grand Prix circuit that's been used since 1985. There's Bartek Mirecki at the back. People watching on from the pit lane, keeping an eye on these young stars. Which one of these will work their way to the top of motor racing? Certainly Sasha Fenestraz is showing a very good hand. Dan Ticktum back from a year out of racing is also showing great flashes of speed, so it's absolutely right. We should find those two on the front row. So Joseph Kaufmann Racing joined the championship this weekend, and so far they've picked up a 1st, a 2nd and a 4th with their 3 drivers in the first of the 2 races here at the Nürburgring. Dry conditions, dry the whole way around the circuit. There's a curb a lot of the drivers will get to run over, not too much we hope. That's the final corner, turn 17 onto the start-finish straight, and there you can see the level start-finish straight. You can see the grid hatchings, and then the track, you can just notice, starts to drop down towards turn 1. You can see the pit wall dropping down. So there is Bartek Mirecki for his own BM Racing team, coming round to complete this 15-car grid. Grey skies at the Nürburgring, but there are blue patches as well, so we could yet have a great day. Very different to yesterday. It was much damper around the circuit. So Joseph Kaufmann Racing watching on. Certainly a really, really strong result for them. So on the right-hand side of the grid, the pole starter, number 11, Sasha Fenestraz. On the left, Dan Ticktum. They are the front row. Behind them, Gabriel Aubry, again on the grandstand side in number 14. And largely white car, Jean-Baptiste Simonat will be starting, and that's number 22, next to the pit wall. So is Fenestraz going to get another fantastic getaway. The green flag is waved. All is clear for the start. The red lights are on, the red lights are off. Very, very short hold. Great start from someone down the back, and one of the cars hasn't gone at all. I think that's Sun Yu Yang. Stationary, but Fenestraz takes the lead, and Aubry is challenging down into turn 1. There ain't going to be space there, so it's all right for Dan Ticktum. He holds on, but he's got to move across if he wants to hold 2nd place. He hasn't quite, so Aubry's up the inside, so be in the right position to challenge for 2nd. Into turn 3 when they get there, but Fenestraz out clear, Ticktum still in front, but up the inside, locked up and almost pushing, well, definitely pushing Ticktum to the outside, but then Ticktum's on the inside, nearly clashing. There's a clash and over, unfortunately. That, I think, was that Gabriel Aubry? It could be Thomas Neubauer. It's number 6, it is Neubauer. So waved yellow flags. We may have a safety car coming out for that one. Dan Ticktum having to try and get into turn 4, coming across and having a clash with Thomas Neubauer. They got very, very close to Gabriel Aubry. And over he went. Luckily it came down, went completely over, barrel roll onto its wheels. So Sasha Fenestraz leading easily from Gabriel Aubry. And then in behind, it's all change in behind. 22, Jean-Baptiste Simonat into 3rd place. And there's the rescue vehicle very quickly across to the exit of turn 4. So Sun Yu Yang didn't get away from the grid. There's Charles Milesi in number 4, fighting with number 2, Theo Koiso. And the driver, Thomas Neubauer still in his car at the exit of turn 4. Look at the lead Sasha Fenestraz has. Of course, the incident behind allowed him to make his escape, but he was already about 5 or 6 car lengths clear before they got to turn 13. Aubrey down the hill in second place. The rest of the field streaming through with Ticktum right at the back. Still going to have the yellow flag sector. Now the field slowing down to get through the chicane without too much of a rumpus. Nose to tail they go, but they come through without any further problems at all. So at the end of the first lap, it's going to be 11 Sasha Fenestraz easily from Gabriel Aubrey, number 14 in second place. Simonauer in third. Ben-Yahya fourth. Milesi fifth. Ife-Aye's gained 1 position. Someone coming out of the pit. I presume that was the car that didn't get away at the start of the race. So wave yellow flag. There is the key safety car, SC. No surprises there. So as the field goes through turn 1 into turn 2, they've got turn 3, and then at turn 4, they're going to be picked up after that. That's further round the course. That's a safety car waiting at the bottom of the slope before you rise up towards the chicane. So no problem. They will pick up the race leader. And Neubauer being attended to. We saw him still in the car. So the field bunching up. Now they've seen the waved yellow flags. Rescue vehicles all there. So the problem really was triggered by Aubrey braking so late into turn 3, pushing Dan Ticktum as they fought over second place so wide. And as they came back through, Thomas Neubauer was trying to take advantage by braking earlier and going around the corner, and I'm afraid 2 became 1 and 1 went over, and 1 was Thomas Neubauer, landing 4 square in the wheels in the car, so precautionary checks. So the safety car, the field ought to be rather more well, they've got to get to the tail of the safety car, then they will be bunched up. They'll see the waved yellow flags, they will see the SC boards around the circuit. Now the sun's starting to break through at the Nürburgring, so the grey morning is burning away to a brighter one. Dan Ticktum at the back of the field there. Don't forget he started on the front row, and the challenge for second place with Gabriel Aubrey ended up with an inversion, a flip for Thomas Neubauer, who had started 5th on the grid. And in all the ensuing moments, Ticktum fell to the back of the field. Aubrey just got through turn 4 ahead of the incident, and there they are now. Sasha Fenestraz's clear advantage come down to nothing, of course, as it would behind the safety car. Now they'll turn into the chicane. Well, let's go back and take a look as we get the cars behind the safety car. What happened at the start? It was a really short hole. Brilliant start from someone right down at the back of the field. That's James Pull. At this point, Ticktum is vying for second place. He's on the left-hand side of the screen. Fenestraz easily got the lead. Simonauer's in 4th, but coming across, Gabriel Aubrey really gave Ticktum a squeeze into turn 1. Ticktum ahead into turn 2, but he left the door, couldn't get across enough. Aubrey up the inside to turn 3. And then really the incident that shaped the race so far occurred down into turn 4 when Aubrey braked so late, pushed Ticktum wide, and Neubauer came into the mix. Then Neubauer clipped wheels with Ticktum, and over he went at turn 4. So shadow now starting to fall across the circuit, and as one can see, Sun Yu Yang is, well, Neubauer we know is out the race. Sun Yu Yang is a lap down because he didn't get started and was pushed into the pit lane, and then he got fired up almost a lap down. He's in the middle of the pack somewhere, but a lap in arrears. So it's Fenestraz, Aubrey, Simonauer, 4th, Ben-Yahya, Milesi, a mere 5 French drivers at the front of the field, then the Chinese racer, Ife-Aye, in 6th place overall. Thomas Maxwell, 7, Gilles Magnus, S-World Championship leader, in 8th. James Pull, 9th after that great start. Just looking there at Barrett Mirecki, he rose from 15th to 12th, gained several positions at the start. So for Fenestraz, he'll be waiting in the number 11 car, leading the race, starting from pole, waiting to control the restart when all is clear for the remainder of the field to go racing all over again. Of course, he can dictate once the safety car's mentioned it's coming in. It's highlighted that by turning its lights off the roof. So down at the hairpin, the field still going around behind the safety car. And all along, all the time, the air temperature's rising, the track temperature is rising as well. And the drivers just having to run line astern, waiting until they finally get the signal to resume racing, still waiting as Thomas Neubauer is being attended to. So for these drivers, it's all part of their education. It's all part of racing. Isn't just from lights to flag in terms of out and out speed. It's also knowing how to keep the heat in your tyres, keep the heat in your brakes when running behind a safety car, so you are absolutely, your car's ready and your brain is ready as well for when the safety car indicates it's coming in. So it's a very, very good chance for people to gain a position or two, because if they're more awake when it comes to the restart, they can get into a great position down the start-finish straight. And let's face it, at the Nürburgring there is a fantastic first corner that provides so many possibilities of line in. Go in tight, you're wide on the exit. Go in wide, you're tight on the exit. But then it leads immediately into turn 2, which feeds in very short order into turn 3. So it's a real case of you gain in one and you can lose in the other. And so it's all part of the really valuable experience that the drivers have to gain in these junior levels if they're really going to be on top of their game as they try and work their way up the ladder to the more senior categories. The majority of these drivers, of course, Formula 3 will be their next stepping stone. Some may choose to go to the almost parallel championship, if you will, the GP3 formula. So many decisions a young driver and their sponsors and family and supporters have to take down to turn 3. So this tight stadium section provides one element of the lap here at the Nürburgring, and then of course it opens out as they start to really flow down the hill. The flow between turns 5, 6, through the kink at 7 and down to 8 is fabulous, and then the uphill stretch all the way back up to turns 11 and 12 is equally wonderful. A real chance for the drivers to find that. You imagine a downhill ski racer, the way you see them before a race, their eyes closed, their bodies swaying just before they go to the starting gate. These drivers have to have a similar shape forming in their brain as they consider how they're going to really, really maximise, get the right line for the car, and also how they're going to plan an overtaking manoeuvre on a driver who's sitting ahead. For Sasha Fenestraz, he has the speed, but when this field is released again, that he will just be concentrating on getting away again. He's proved he has. Race has been stopped. The red flag has come out with 17 minutes on the clock, or as near as. So 8 minutes have passed. Red flag at 16:58 remaining. So it was a clean start. First 2 corners very clean indeed. Turn 3, it started to get a little bit troublesome in that battle for second place, and at turn 4 we had Thomas Neubauer having a clash with Dan Ticktum. That brought out the safety car, and the safety car still leading round, but the field will be brought back to the grid where it will stop and wait for further instruction. Dan Ticktum, who was caught in that clash down at turn 4, having been given a big squeeze at turn 3, pushed so wide that opened the door at turn 3 for Thomas Neubauer to come down and take a look into turn 4. Gabriel Aubry, possibly the author in some ways of that moment, by going so deep, so late on the brakes into turn 3. He's running in second place, and at the back of the field is Dan Ticktum, the other driver caught in the group. You can see the Red Bull colour scheme at the rear of the field. So for Sasha Fenestraz, he will have seen the red flags around the circuit. He would otherwise have been looking at the lights on the roof of the safety car, waiting to see when towards the end of the lap they would go out, but that hasn't been the case. The red flag shown by the marshals all around the circuit, so the drivers now know, or should know, exactly what the procedure is. The red flag is being waved on the starting gantry, and there are personnel out on the circuit, putting the cars to a halt, not in their grid positions, but before there's a gate. You can see the red flag on the starting gantry. They will bring them forward to the grid as and when they're ready to do so, but this way they have the option of also, if they decide not to, of taking them through the gate in the pit wall back to the paddock. But right now they're line astern, in finishing order, with Dan Ticktum coming into the place at the back of the line. He's 13th overall, but Sun Yu Yang is in that mix too, but he's a lap down, having had that problem getting away from the grid and losing effectively a lap while he sat there. So just to reiterate, it is a red flag situation. Sasha Fenestraz, who led away from pole, will take the restart as and when from the lead position, because he's led all the way. Gabriel Aubry will start alongside him. And of those who really gained places, I suppose James Poole did the best. He started down in 14th and he moved up to 5th place. You can see his red and white Arden Motorsport car making a fabulous getaway at the start. Most people stayed pretty much close to their grid position, so he was the driver who gained the most. So here we have the red flag situation, everyone waiting to find out Just had news, great news, that Thomas Neubauer is okay. He's been checked over by the medics after his barrel roll down on the exit of turn 4. He's judged to be okay. Of course, they'll take him off for further checks at the medical centre, but he's out of the car. And the restart, when it comes, will be behind the safety car. So that's all good news. He will carry on with this race. I just had to pause for a second to hear the message coming through. And the incident between Thomas Neubauer and Dan Ticktum will be investigated after the race. And that was the inversion down at turn 4 when things got a bit tight with 3 cars fighting over second place. Gabriel Aubry came away with that second place. Sacha Fenestraz was already out of the corner and heading off down the hill. He had a fantastic start and built a lead of 5 or 6 car lengths to get himself out of trouble as he went through the arena section at the start of the lap. And he was imperious yesterday, winning by 6.5 seconds. And today he's got more to do, but he's going to lead this restart from behind the safety car, so he'll be able to control it when the safety car does withdraw. But currently we've got a red flag situation in the Formula Renault Northern European Championship here at the Nürburgring. Good clean race yesterday, 15 starters, 15 finishers. One of the drivers, Charles Milesi, was pinged for a little bit of contact out on the circuit, so he lost his 4th place. So 3.5 minutes to the estimated time of the restart at 10:20. So the drivers have to sit, keeping their brains clear, keeping their brains flexible in the cars. They will be getting signals from their team and the race officials as to what is happening, because every time, you have many different eventualities when you have a red flag. But they will have been told there is a restart coming up. So about 3 minutes' time. The safety car will lead the field away with poleman Sacha Fenestraz, who was leading at the time the safety car was triggered, or the yellow flag period was triggered, and will lead again. There he is, Sacha Fenestraz. Very impressed with him yesterday. And all along, the conditions improving at the Nürburgring. The light cloud is becoming higher, moving away, more gaps for blue sky. So this isn't the quiet before the storm. Certainly it's been really very orderly by and large. And for Sacha Fenestraz, this is proving a very good weekend indeed. Just to reiterate, the restart will be behind the SC, the safety car. So they will be running line astern. And obviously no overtaking at the restart until the safety car withdraws, and all the drivers know they have to look at the lights on the roof of the safety car towards the end of a lap, and when they go out, that dictates that be pulling in to the pit lane, and then the driver who's leading the pack, Sacha Fenestraz, will choose the moment to floor the throttle. Those behind can accelerate as hard as they can, try and catch the car ahead. They cannot pass it until they pass under the starting gantry, the start-finish line. At the start-finish line, overtaking can commence. So this is all useful experience for the drivers. They have to learn these things. Not every race runs from start to finish without a blemish. And drivers of young years, they would have almost invariably come through karting. They would have learned some techniques there, but again, once you get into car racing, there are other different procedures that have to be followed. So it should be just over a minute until the start of the race again behind the safety car. 14 of the 15 starters, obviously missing Thomas Neubauer, who had that flip down on the exit of turn 4. Glad to hear that he's been adjudged okay and is out of the car. The car would have been removed, or was probably being removed as we speak, and then having issued that suggested restart time of 10:20, it's 10:19 now. They've obviously timed it so the inverted car, well not inverted car, the flipped car can be removed down on the exit of turn 4. So there's the field. Number 22, Jean-Baptiste Simonat. He will start 3rd. He started 4th on the grid, but obviously with Dan Ticktum, who started 2nd down at the back of the pack, those behind have all moved up one. Right, engines fired up all over again. All at tick over, remarkably quiet. That's just waiting for the pole starting man, the race leader, Sacha Fenestraz, to get him going. Now new nose going out for Dan Ticktum's car. I didn't notice any damage as he went around the circuit, but clearly there was contact with Thomas Neubauer. I think it's largely been on the driver's left side of the car. hadn't noticed it as it went round. It might be minor, or maybe they're taking it out as a precaution to see if any of the end plates have been a little bit bent in that moment. Sasha Fenestraz's car completely clean at the front of the field. So it looks like the safety car is going to go around for one inspection lap. That's my guess, because or is Sasha Fenestraz? No, they're being flagged away. He's got such a lead. I thought, is he going for one on his own? But Fenestraz is away, followed by Gabriel Aubry. McDonald's livery on Jean-Baptiste Simonau's car chases away in the third place. But the field needs to get out there and go and get close. I don't think they'd have had a chance to change the nose on Dan Ticktum's car. I think it was just taken as a precaution. And now all the personnel having to walk back. There is someone coming back holding a nose cone. Was it the one off his car, or was it the one that they took out just in case? I think it really was a case of just in case. So, again, you think of first part of the lap at Nürburgring as being rather level, but here you can see the change. This is turn 3. Safety car in at the end of this lap. I think the drivers could have guessed that, but they need to be close enough to be able to see it. There's number 2. That's Theo Koso, and he is in 10th place overall. The points go all the way down from the first driver in the field, with 15 cars all the way down to the bottom, but it's 30 points for a win, and second place pays rather less, so it's definitely a good increment for those who take the top few positions. It goes 30, 24, 20, 17, and then thereafter it goes down 1 point at a time, so any of the first 3 positions can really gain a march on those who finish 4th, 5th, 6th, etc. Down to the bottom of the circuit, completely dry down at the hairpin. Drivers staying very sensibly tight, no need to rush out over the curbs. The bottom obviously not at full racing speed. Lewis leads, bright yellow car, yellow and black car. He is down in 11th place, so pretty much where he started. He's exactly where he started this race. Safety car in at the end of this lap. So the last of the field. Dan Ticktum is the last in the field, number 33. Going through turn 12 now into the dip. The kinked back straight. From here it looks much more of a corner than it is, but it's a right-hand flick, absolutely flat out, and then up the hill to the chicane. You can see the curbs. There are various routes through the chicane, but the drivers will be taking the first one, the first bite of the cherry into the chicane. Now the drivers will all know, they would have seen the lights of the safety car are out, and Fenestraz has already floored it. He's going at full speed. Aubry tried to keep with him, and unfortunately Simonauer has rather backed himself off their tail. No overtaking until the start-finish line, but for the first 2 it's allowed them a good escape. So Fenestraz leads away from Gabriel Aubry. No car close enough to challenge any of them. I'm trying to see if any of those further back in the pack are close enough to make a passing move, as they're now allowed to, down into turn 1. If anyone, it's Jiffy IEA, the red-nosed Joseph Kaufmann racing car, up the inside of number 1, Charles Milesi. Very clean move in and out of turn 1. Those behind, I didn't see any... Saw a flash of Dan Ticktum trying to go up the inside of someone at the tail of the field. I can't tell you if it worked, but of course he was starting last in the pack. Well, there is a move that's only going to lead to contact, and that's number 40. That was a little bit feisty. That was Gilles Magnus. Don't forget, he led the championship coming here, so he's gained a handful of places there. He started 8th, and everyone else had to have evasive action, and he's having another go at number 1, his own teammate. So that's a little bit interesting in RAce GP land. Having a go at Charles Milesi. Charles will have to be careful. He got disqualified yesterday for contact, so he'll have that in the back of his mind. And okay, certainly I could just spot that Ticktum has picked off a couple of the people at the tail of the field. He's got past Mirecki for 1. Now 5. Thomas Maxwell trying to get into the mix. Nobody can do anything about Sasha Fenestraz though. The really, really tight racing is this midfield grouping around this opening lap, and I'm sure if we see our race leader 4 and 5 again very, very close together. Gilles Magnus ahead of Thomas Maxwell, but Sasha Fenestraz pulling clear at the front of the field. Conditions getting there is Fenestraz with the same advantage, if not slightly more than he had on the start-finish straight, and Aubry very safe in 2nd, Simonauer in 3rd, but it's really from about 6th place backwards that it gets very, very close. Here's James Pull, the red and white car, really trying to make a move. He's getting the outside line into the chicane, and I think that might just work for him. But then be on the correct line. Lewis leads at the back of the field, then Bartek Mirecki, then Dan Ticktum. Ticktum looks like he's going to gain a place. A mistake from Pull. Having made that move, he lost 2 positions in the chicane. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, but sadly he ventured and he lost. So Fenestraz leading by 1.3 seconds. Aubrey in behind, and then another 1.6 seconds back to Simonauer, and then just over half a second back to Michael Benyaya, and he's got Yiffy Aye all over his tail. Ticktum's the one to lose out at turn 1, pushed very wide. I think that was by Sun Yu Yang, who of course is a lap down, and Leeds now getting one on Mirecki, who's gone for the scenic route. Not that he wanted to, out of turn 2. He's having a look up the inside into turn 3, but the Australian racer keeps it in front. Lewis Leeds really effectively fighting for last position in the pack, but number 1 and 4 so close together. Charles Milesi and Gilles Magnus, teammates, in name only perhaps, as they fight over position. And driver of car number 1, black and white warning flag for driving standards. Here is Charles Milesi. Yesterday he got punished for it, so clearly he's being seen as a little bit of a bad boy. Locks up on the brakes down into turn 8, the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, but holds it all together. Now, do we fancy that Fenestraz is pulling away from Gabriel Aubrey? Hard to tell from that angle. One of them, Fenestraz just locked up into turn 11. You can see the puff of tyre smoke hanging in the air as Gabriel Aubrey came in after him, but I'd say it's fairly even between them. 1.3 seconds on the start-finish line. We might be dealing a couple of tenths here or there, but certainly setting a very strong pace. Sacha Fenestraz, winner yesterday by 6.5 seconds. And today the real battling is a little bit further down in the pack, but watch out for 1 and 4. Charles Milesi just coming up to the chicane right behind. He's got the black and white driver warning flag. And in behind, Gilles Magnus. And certainly it's getting up close and personal in that little battle. So 1.3 seconds between first and second last time. What's it this time? Waiting for the tick over. 1.8. There was a brief glitch on the screen. So half a second gain by Fenestraz. Fastest in each and every one of the 3 sectors around the lap. And in fact, despite all the passing and counter-passing at the end of the lap, only 1 driver gained a position on the lap, and that was Lewis Leeds getting ahead of Bartek Mirecki. Of course, the lap chart will only show the positions at the end of the lap. You can have countless changes down at the bottom of the hill or even through the stadium section. And yet, it's what counts on the lap charts at the end of the lap. Now, can 14, Gabriel Aubrey, who won both of the opening races at the first round down at Monza in June, can he get any closer to Sacha Fenestraz? On the form of the last lap, no, because he lost half a second. Fastest, in fact, he lost 0.6 of a second. Now, Yiffy Aye, I think we'll watch out for him. Car number 41, getting much closer to Michael Benyaya. And don't forget Yiffy Aye in the red and white Joseph Kaufmann entry. Locking up under braking, but carrying great speed into the hairpin. He finished second yesterday. He's 5th now. I think we could change that. Now let's have a little look. A replay, beautiful slow-mo. There's Charles Milesi. Wonderful, wonderful camera work. These cars do look great now. Presumably going out over the curbing and beyond. No, he's kept 2 wheels on the circuit. That's absolutely fine. And being chased by Gilles Magnus up over the curbs, then right in behind Thomas Maxwell et al. But certainly Milesi ran quite high over the curbing. So we've had a change of position. Number 3 has been passed. Yiffy Aye is now up into 4th place, and his next target he's got to catch up with 22, Jean-Baptiste Simonauer. I sense there might have been a change back down at the tail of the field. I'm going to look to the back of this grouping. I think Dan Ticktum might have lost position. He got as high as 11th, but I think he's dropped out. First 3 now starting to shape up, but look out for 41. It's on the charge. It's a red and white car just crossing the start-finish line now. Yiffy Aye, and his target is definitely 22. What's the gap between first and second? It was 1.8. It's now 2.5 seconds, so 7/10 gained on each of the past 2 laps by our race leader. Suddenly, we've only got 7.5 minutes remaining in this race. There are the intervals between the drivers, but the important one is Fenestraz to Aubrey. That's gone out to 2.5, and Ye is only 1.49 seconds down on 3rd place. You certainly feel Jean-Baptiste Simonauer is now going to be a protected species. There's Simonauer in the white car in the background of the shot, and the red and white car of Yiffy Aye coming for him. Second yesterday and looking very, very good indeed. Started down in 7th today, so he's done well to not only get through the pack, but do so without any damage. And certainly, this we saw on the last lap, he's not afraid to carry speed deep, deep into the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. Not this corner, this is turn 7, the very next one. Let's see if he locks up again this time. Down to the bottom of the course. Well, he certainly really throws number 41 in there, and the car responds, so he's clearly got very good balance indeed. Oh, the gap between first and second really going out. Gabriel Aubrey taking a much wider line than the very, very tight, controlled line of Sacha Fenestraz in the lead of this race. So you feel the gap between first and second is only going to be going one way, and that is out. But Yiffy Aye in 41 getting closer and closer to that third place, Jean-Baptiste Simenauer, and in turn they seem to be dropping away from the two in front. More to the point, Sacha Fenestraz escaping, Gabriel Aubrey safe in second place. And I was right, Ticktum did lose position. He lost 2 places, obviously tried to move on the last lap, fell down to 13th. Don't forget, Ticktum started second and was involved in the incident with Thomas Neubauer very early on the opening lap, after a feisty couple of corners battling with Gabriel Aubrey. There is Ticktum at the back of the pack, behind Marecki, who's behind Leeds, and Leeds is now setting his sights on James Paul is 1 position further up. Gap between first and second actually came down 2.4 seconds now, but oh, here we go. This one's been bubbling for a while. Number 4, Gilles Magnus, trying to get past his teammate Charles Milesi. Charles a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1. That is fine, but this is the arena section where one corner leads almost directly into another, 1 into 2, then a short straight down to 3, and 3 immediately into 4. So compromise in 1 leads to possibly a better line into the second, or vice versa. But there they are through turn 4 cleanly. And now Ye is right on the tail. He was a second down on Jean-Baptiste Simenauer. It's under a second, I would suggest, as they go down through turns 5, sweep down through 6, then carry on pouring their cars down the hill to the kink at turn 7. Over the curb, not too badly there. And then down to turn 8 at the bottom of the hill. 1 and 4 still very, very close together again. Keeping it clean. Thomas Maxwell locking up down into turn 8 in 8th place, just behind this enticing little battle between Milesi and Magnus, fighting over 6th place. Oh yeah, he's carrying on his charge. Certainly Simenauer is going to have to fight really hard in 22. He's got 4.5 minutes remaining till the checker will be prepared to be proffered. And he's got to keep Ye behind him. Certainly 2 podiums here would be a good haul for Ye, but he's got to A, get another fraction of a second closer, and then B, in the next 2 laps, I would suggest, make a move and make it stick. This lap and 2 more. Very good middle sector for Sacha Fenestraz, has stretched his advantage in the lead. It came down by a blink of an eye last time, but this is the battle that's really, really hotting up. Battle for 3rd place, Simenauer, Yiffy Aye, who made the better move onto the start-finish straight. Certainly the Chinese driver very happy to run out over the curbs and keep the power hard on in the slipstream, most definitely. The gap is just half a second, 0.533 of a second, but looks though for 1 more lap at least into turn 1. Simenauer is safe into the first part of the arena section. Yeah, nice controlled exit from that. Nothing gained by Ye. Ye looks a little bit better through turn 2. Ran a little bit wider, carried a bit more momentum, but the corner is a corner that keeps on curving. But if anything, Simenauer did it slightly better, maybe a slightly tighter line worked in his favour. Through 3, through 4 without an attack. So that means this lap and the next lap a little bit easier for him. But Ye, I don't think he's finished. Coming down the hill, getting closer and closer again through turn 5. This time, Ye, maybe because he got a little bit too close to the tail of Simenauer, ran a little bit wide on the exit of the corner. He was much crisper in his cornering line last time around. By the way, the gap between first and second, having come down by a little bit, has now gone out by another 0.6 of a second. So really good lap from the race leader, Sacha Fenestraz, controlling things very, very well indeed. Now it's almost fully bright sunshine at most points around the circuit, so the day is improving. Be improving for Ye if he can get by Simenauer. Simenauer not leaving the door open too much, but certainly when it comes to regular corner lines, Ye just looks a little bit quicker between turns 11 and 12. He just is trying to unsettle Simenauer and making a lunge when very, very few people make lunges will have put a seed of doubt into the mind of Simenauer. Up the hill to chicane. Well, this is a place that's no stranger to passing manoeuvres. I don't think Yeah, he's got enough of a run up the hill, but he's going to dive up the inside. Well, that was a very, very good move, and completely allowed to do so by Simonauer. Simonauer maybe just realised, oh, I've guessed the wrong way, and was gentlemanly and left the door open. Well, smiles on from Joseph Kaufmann's crew, no doubt, because that means they've got 2 cars heading for the podium. Sacha Fenestraz for win number 2. Now Yiffy Aye, bottom step of the podium, 3rd place. But can Simonauer fight back? He's certainly got a slipstream. He needs to stay there a little longer before diving out into turn 1. A little kink beforehand. Now, very tight defensive line from Ye there, but job done, because Simonauer wasn't close enough to lunge back. So most impressed. The gap between first and second continued to grow, another 0.4 of a second. So Sacha Fenestraz, 1.5 minutes remaining on the clock. We'll have time for this lap and one more, stretching his advantage over Gabriel Aubry. So it's Joseph Kaufmann racing from Aubrey's Tech 1 racing crew, then Yiffy Aye for Joseph Kaufmann racing, and now he's past Simonauer of JD Motorsport. He's really starting to stretch his legs all over again. So to rise from 7th to 3rd is very good indeed. Obviously 2 of the drivers who started ahead of him in Thomas Neubauer, who's down at the side, well, in the medical centre now, or having visited the medical centre, is out of the race, and Dan Ticktum, who started 2nd, have fallen from it, but he still had to work for it, and his overtaking manoeuvres have been very clean indeed. But the battle between Milesi in number 1, Magnus in number 4, and Maxwell, the watching brief just in behind, has been intoxicating in this race, but number 4 not been able to make a move. So Gilles Magnus close to his teammate, but not in a position to make a lunge. Maybe he's saving it for the final lap. Next lap should be the final lap, because the race leaders, I think, well, actually, just having a look, will they get to the start-finish line before the checkered flag is proffered? Through the chicane, round the final corner. I look across the start gantry, nobody holding a black and white flag. So yes, I think they're going to cross the line just in time for one more racing lap. There to start finish line, cross with 8 seconds to go. So yes, this is the final lap of the race, and the advantage from first to second was 3.3. It's now 3.9. Next closest thing to 4 seconds for Sacha Fenestraz. Final lap of the race. Yeah, he managed to get not just past Simonauer, but over the next lap he pulled out 1.3 seconds. Now look at this, number 1, Milesi. This is the time, it's the last lap, up the inside, slightly on the grass, down the inside. Gilles Magnus, how late has he braked? Is it too late? Milesi's going to fight back on the exit of the corner. Magnus has done just enough, and you know Maxwell, if he goes up the inside, could be lucky here. He could be separating these 2 cars from RACE GP. He's got to just hang in there. No, just enough by Milesi to hold him off on the little straight down to turn 3, and now Milesi not close enough to make a lunge back at Gilles Magnus. So finally we have the change of position. So up into 6th place goes Magnus, and Milesi down to 7th. Don't forget, Milesi would have known that he was on a driver standards warning flag. Black and white flag had been waved to him about 5 or 6 laps ago. Simonauer, you can see, has dropped right off the tail of Yiffy Aye, down to the hairpin for the final time. Ye in 41. 6.5 seconds down on Gabriel Aubry. It matters not. He's got the final place on the podium. Up to turn 11 for the final time at racing speed. Sacha Fenestraz, closest thing to 4 seconds clear of Gabriel Aubry. And really has controlled this race from the front. And to be honest, if there hadn't been a safety car, I feel he would have stretched even further clear. Yesterday he won by 6.5 seconds in an uninterrupted race. Today it's going to be around 4 seconds. But he did everything that was asked of him by Joseph Kaufmann Racing, and having had to fight his way onto the past Simonauer. Yiffy Aye not able to close on this grouping. He's been able to show good speed. In fact, he said his best lap of the race last time around, but he's running 3rd. But here's today's victor. He won yesterday in the first of 2 races for the Formula Renault Northern European Cup, and win again for Jean-Baptiste for Fenestraz. 2nd place Gabriel Aubry, 3rd place wide over the curves Ye, then Simonauer in 4th place. Thomas Maxwell on the final lap, final corner, really fancying he's going to have a shot at Milesi. I think it's too little, too late. However, there's no chance of getting past, no extra momentum out of the final corner. So that's the battle for 7th place. Milesi had to fight all the way in number 1, and the rest of the field coming through line astern. Lewis Leeds gained a few places towards the end of the race. Sony Mirecki with Theo Coeso going backwards, unfortunately. But Fenestraz, 4.3 seconds in the end. A very good win. Simonauer tried his hardest to hold on to that final place on the podium, but the pressure from Ye was just too much. So another race win for Sacha Fenestraz. Really, really strong weekend he's had here at the Nürburgring. The next rounds of the championship next weekend, 3 races at Spa-Francorchamps. Well, this is what happened coming out of the chicane on the final lap. I saw we picked up Maxwell really having a run round the final corner. He'd had to go out of the chicane. Well, it didn't quite work, but not the greatest of final laps for Charles Milesi, born for driver standards yesterday, and certainly a little bit feisty again today, but held on to that 7th place. Thomas Maxwell crossing the line in 8th, but a cool down lap from a driver who's clearly very, very cool in the cockpit as well. Sascha Fenestraz, remember that name. It certainly is one that over the past year or two has been clocking up the wins, and that's all you can ask of drivers as they build their racing careers. So made it look very easy indeed. Waving to the marshals. Of course, we can't go racing if the marshals aren't there, so it's always great to see young drivers in particular showing their appreciation. Started in grey weather, as you can see, still some clouds, but largely blue sky at the Nürburgring. But certainly in the world of Sascha Fenestraz, the sun is shining. So there is the final order. Sascha Fenestraz winning comfortably from Gabriel Aubry, who profited at the start of the race to move up to 2nd place. Yiffy Aye moved from 7th up to 3rd. Jean-Baptiste Simonauer couldn't quite hold him off. 4th place for him. Quietest race of all, Michael Ben Yahya, because the battling was behind between Magnus and Milesi, with Magnus coming out ahead. Thomas Maxwell very nearly also demoting Milesi, but ending up in 8th place. James Poole rose from 14th to 9th. Lewis leads up and down the order, finished 10th. Bartek Mirecki, Theo Coeso, and 13th place, effectively last of the regular runners, was Dan Ticktum at a lap down, having not got away at the start of the race. Sun Yu Yang and Thomas Neubauer, the tumbler on the first lap, but delighted to report he's been checked over and all seems to be okay. So a busy race, and there is the race winner, Sascha Fenestraz. He's a driver who clearly knows his way to Parc Fermé and to the spot that says number 1, because most clearly he is very much that. So just waiting for the young French ace to climb out, which he does. Yiffy Aye, his Joseph Kaufmann racing teammate in the background. A little bit of dabbing on the nose of the car. Crew very happy indeed. It's been a really, really strong performance, and it also helps the team continue to grow. Not that Joseph Kaufmann Racing needs to grow. It's been here winning races for a very long time. Yiffy Aye, 2nd yesterday, 3rd today. Good haul of points. Doesn't have the pace of his teammate Sascha Fenestraz, but very, very strong pairing there. Handshakes all round. Gabriel Aubry obviously coming home in 2nd place, and once he realised he didn't have the pace to match Sascha Fenestraz, and was shown the way again after the restart, just had to settle for that 2nd, and Simonauer dropped off his tail safe, so he just had to complete the laps and take the 24 points on offer for that 2nd place. But it's a haul of 60 points across the 2 races for Sascha Fenestraz, and if he continues to compete in the Northern European Cup Formula Renault Championship, he's moved very nicely up the order. But let's go down, because we're going to go down and hear from our winner, Sascha Fenestraz, with Dakota.
Sascha, an absolute dominant weekend for you. You must be so happy with yourself.
Yeah, really happy. The team done an amazing job. So yeah, we were 2nd in the 2nd free practice. So that's a shame, because we were nearly P1 every time. So yeah, but really happy. Dominate all race yesterday and today. So yeah, I can't ask more than that. So hope to do the same next weekend in Spa.
Congratulations. Good luck for next weekend. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Well, there is the confirmation that he will be back for more in Spa, and those 2 race wins, 30 points apiece, really propels him up the championship order. But obviously those who contested the earlier rounds at Monza and Assen still have a bit of an advantage. They carried on gathering points, but the rate at which Sascha Fenestraz was gathering them shows that he is going to be a real title threat. He's also obviously right at the front end of the main European Formula Renault Championship. So the drivers need also to know their way up to the podium for the celebrations afterwards. They've left their cars in Parc Fermé. Go for a quick weigh-in after the race. So a race full of interest, but really the race here for the Formula Renault Northern European Cup was all